in order to become emotionally raw, you have to go through some type of trauma, right? And I'm not saying trauma is a bad thing. I think that and at the base level, trauma is what makes us better. Struggle, all these things. But you don't just sit there on the couch eating a bowl of cereal, watching TV, and become emotionally raw. I mean, you've got depression or something, yeah, sure. But we put ourselves in that. We seek that out. You go out to run 3 hours or bike 6 hours or whatever you want to do to expose that. We seek that out. And so I think if you were talking to the average person, they wouldn't understand at all what we're talking about. They're like, why would you want to do that? And you and I are like, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Welcome back to the Yogi Triathlete Podcast. Tim Waggoner joins me today on the pod as I, BJ, take this one solo with my partner Jess, loving her life, leading a yoga retreat in Costa Rica, which I'll be joining next week. I never thought boarding a plane in 2007 would shift my beliefs and goals, but it did just that. As I sat down in my aisle seat, as Jess and I do often when we travel. I know no one likes the middle seat, right? I struck up a conversation with the stranger next to me. Turns out the stranger raced Ironman Arizona too and was flying back to Boulder, where we were living at the time. And as we chatted, I picked up right away on the sense of confidence, belief, and a matter-of-factness. And I'd say you could call it truth. Well, that truth bomb was delivered when he asked me how my race went. And I replied, oh man, it was brutal. I ran a 4:30. He said so casually, why would you want to be out there that long? And this is the moment that shifted my mindset forever. Tim Waggoner was that stranger on the plane, and it was his last pro Ironman race. I was fortunate to share his return to Ironman racing in St. George, his first Ironman back in 15 years. A special moment between longtime friends and one that I wanted to capture for all our listeners. Tim, or Lucho as he's better known from the Endurance Planet podcast, who we host with our friend Tawny Prazak, has a wealth of experience and insight around endurance sports and training. Always thinking outside the box, he has reached the age of 50, still crushing miles and speedy track intervals. Tim, welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's awesome to be here. Thank you.
It's so good to have you. And when I saw you had posted you were doing Ironman St. George on social, which is always good to see you on social because you usually don't post that much. I got super excited. And I had signed up for that race too as the regular race. And I know you did as well. And then it turned into the World Championships, which was an even bigger bonus. But yeah, I want to start this off. And I know we usually go deep here at on the Yogi Triathlete Podcast, but when we were chatting, and I hope this is okay to share, when we were chatting for coffee before the race, you said that you wanted to find your why. You didn't really know your why for race day. And I'm curious to know if you had unpacked that or had uncovered it.
If I look honestly, I'd lost the why and I wasn't going to get it back. Like, I shouldn't have probably done the race, if I'm being honest. I originally signed up for St. George partly because I knew that it was a really difficult course. And in 2011, 2012, they had it here. And it was just horrendous conditions and brutal course. And I thought to myself that if they ever bring that full back, that I would love to come out of retirement and do that. And lo and behold, they did. And I had signed up thinking that I would do the race, qualify for Kona, arrogantly, right? And I'm just going to qualify for Kona. And then I could take my family to Hawaii and do Hawaii with my wife and kids. My sons are old enough now where they would appreciate it. Then they announced it as a World Championships, and then they announced that Kona was going to be a double day. And there are going to be 6,000 athletes with 20,000 spectators. And I was immediately turned off. I'm like, no, ain't going to do it. And so now that initial overall idea was just yanked out. And now I'm left with this Ironman with no end goal, right? Like no, I've done 18 now. 17, you've done 17. So finishing one, you've done it. And there, things happened during this race that made it exceptional for me. And I'll talk about that. But like going and doing an Ironman just to finish I retired because I was done with that. I didn't need to do that anymore. And so I went on to other challenges. And so all my whys sort of got taken away, or I chose to change it. And I realized throughout the year that I shouldn't be doing this. This is not right.
So how do you work with that? We like to dive into that too. When you have the initial hit, and then the repercussions flood through as time goes on. So how do you work with that? How do you work with that?
So the main thing that I dwelled upon was that I love training. And one of the initial reasons that I signed up was like, well, I'm going to be training a lot anyway, regardless of what I'm going to do. The track series that I do every year in Boulder because of the pandemic had been partially canceled. They weren't sure what they were going to do with it. So my track focus was kind of on hold. I'm like, well, I got to train, so I might as well do an Ironman. And then, it snowballed and I got this idea, like I'll do St. George, I'll qualify, I'll go to Kona, on and on and on. I love the training. And I love that more than the racing, for sure, except for track.
Why is it track?
So that was my very first beginnings. When I was 11 years old, I started racing on the track and did well. And I've always just loved stepping onto a track. It just does it for me. But understand, too, that I was ranked, I think, 7th in the U.S. in the 200 meters last year, 2 years ago. In the 200 meters, 24 seconds as a 48-year-old. And so it's 24 seconds. 24 seconds.
Compared to what? All right, 10
I ran
hours?
4 hours and 34 minutes yesterday. Or I don't remember even my time. It was 4 something. 24 seconds is what I was into. 55 if I do the 400. Ooh, is a long one.
Yeah.
And so that switch up was just a punch in the stomach. I realized almost immediately that this isn't good. Having to suddenly have this, and this is a really overriding principle that I discovered I didn't enjoy anymore, was the feeling of waking up and having this fairly significant pressure to have to do something big. Right? So when I was training for the track, I would be like, I'm going to go out and do, for the 200 meters, I'm going to go out and do 6 times 50 meters on my hill. That was it. Like, I can do that. Give me 30 minutes. I'll have it done. And instead, it's waking up and realizing that I've got to drive an hour and 40 minutes round trip to the pool. I've got to do, 20-mile long runs. I've got to do the longest bikes I can. And you have to do them. And I didn't like that at all. And I didn't do it. That's the problem. It got messy.
Well, your mind recalled how things, better. Your mind knows better. You're going into an Ironman. The things that need to be accomplished to get to that.
And so there's a lot of baggage with that. Mm-hmm. I was well known back in the day, back in the early 2000s, for doing an extraordinary amount of volume. It was my thing. I trained with guys like Simon Lessing and Tim DeBoom, to drop some names. And they would always be like, dude, you're training too much. And I was. And so now I look at the training that I did in the last year, and it messed with me because I hadn't done what I thought I should do. Like I used to do 30 hours, 20K in the pool, 30-hour bike weeks. 30-hour bike weeks, just bike, And so I didn't do any of that. And I'm like, I'm not going to do well. Oh, no, this isn't good.
That's a perfect place for exploration of how
It
you
is.
how you relate to yourself in the past, how you relate to yourself now, and then also where you want to see yourself going forward.
So the going forward is very easy. And I think that really lends itself to a big reason why I did this. I've always said that as I got older, I'm 50 now, that I wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted to do, not limited by my physical ability, which you see so prevalent now, and that really bothers me. Be able to jump into an Ironman at 50 completely unprepared and do it, there's a lot of pride there. And I think my kids see that as well. Their dad, 50 years old, did an Ironman. Like, that's profound for them going for the rest of their life. But yeah, that was the easy part. And what was the first part of your question? I'm sorry.
Was it the relationship to the baggage of the past?
Yeah, and that's really...
I'm sure they baggage. I mean, we give it a title.
Baggage.
Okay.
Yeah, I joke with my wife that I have a baggage carousel. Like, all my bags just come down and start rotating, and I just pick one.
We need to clean up that carousel there, Tim.
I don't know. I've tried. And
yeah.
Brock Armstrong, I don't know if you know Brock. Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful guy. He asked me right when I signed up, he's like, why are you doing this? This isn't going to do anything for you. He was brutally honest. He's like, this isn't going to get rid of any baggage for you. I was like, well, I'm going to try. And he was so spot on. Going back to fix something from the past is just never... It's delusional.
It is, because it already happened, and it already happened. It's already gone.
You can't fix it. You have to let it go. You have to just. It happened. I'm going to learn from it, and now I'm going to try really hard not to do that again.
That right there is the work. It's letting it go. It's easy for people to say, just let it go. Just don't think about it. But it's that relentless, habitual practice that your mind has created, that it just will focus on something for so much, because what we focus on expands profoundly, millions and millions of times. So to just let go of that baggage, and you've got a big carousel, so you got to start chopping that up a little bit by a little bit if you want to make any headway into it. But you don't even have to make headway. I guess you do if it's bringing it into your present moment, if you're trying to fulfill or correct something that has happened already. Yeah.
Right.
So how are you? So you have this thought, okay, I'm going to do Ironman, and Brock called you on it and said, this isn't gonna get what you want.
So I think what I wanted to do. So I did 17 Ironmans and I did well. My slowest Ironman out of 17 was 950. Had some really good results in there. I never enjoyed it. I never enjoyed the Ironman. I enjoyed the process of pushing myself to my absolute limits and doing well. It was all boiled down to that. It was very performance-based. If I didn't have a good run, I hated it. I was angry at myself. And I pushed and that's part of the reason that I got hung up in that volume thing. Well, I just need to do more. And it just was, and I know much better now. But it was very performance-based. And it still is. Like, when I'm not in shape at all and I go run and I feel terrible and I'm running slow, I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy that act of running. It's not until I become fit enough where I can actually push myself and start seeing results that I start to enjoy it more.
But you have to go through the moments of not feeling good while you're running to get to that point.
Yep. And I do... In a weird way, I enjoy that. I enjoy going for a run, seeing that I'm out of shape, and it fires me up. It just motivates me to do more, and I enjoy that rebuild. I've always enjoyed the rebuild. Just knowing that I'm going to be good in X number of months.
But you like it because you have experience doing it.
Exactly. And that's part of my baggage.
You've countless times gone from a math pace, and I don't want to talk about math, but like I've seen you post like 9 minutes down to like all of a sudden 7, or like super quick. So you've got this ingrained knowledge that you've proven this over and over again. So the mind likes proof. It likes to see proof of things, because then it really will believe. So you're so past the moment where most people go out for a terrible run and they're like, I'm not why did I sign up for this race? I'm probably not going to train. I'm probably not going to be fit enough. But you go past that.
And so part of that ties into that is that when I go out for a run, like my past experience is that, I've had my MAF at 550 pace. That's my baseline. That's where I'm starting from. So when I see a number, I'm equating it to 550 pace or 6 or whatever. I've run 250 in an Ironman. So when I think of how I'm going to do, how I was going to do at St. George yesterday, I've got these very tight goals in there that are arrogantly too good. They're just overly confident. I'm gonna bike 510 tomorrow. Like, so delusional. I'm gonna swim 52. I used to swim 52 easy. I casually swim 52. And so it's to towing the line yesterday. I started with that idea. And it was I've never done an Ironman where I'm just gonna go and have fun and finish. That doesn't even exist in my world. I've never done an Ironman like that. 17 of them, not once did I start just thinking I was going to enjoy the experience.
Well, I think that comes from your strong minds. Like, you already believe you're going to finish it anyway. Like, you're going to finish it no matter what.
That was never even a question.
It's never a question. It's how fast are you going to finish it.
It always comes down to that. And expectations is a word that is, a lot of things are hinged on that. Most things, I would almost say, are hinged on your expectations of the outcome you want. And if that's off, you're not going to enjoy what you're doing at all. And I hate to tell people to lower their expectations, but I think that you need levels of expectations where you have this base expectation. Mine should have been, I'm going to do an Ironman and just enjoy myself. If I finish in 17 hours, then great. There, we've got that out of the way. And I don't know if I could actually have done that without bullshitting myself, like lie to myself and say that. But I think that's a good idea to start with a certain worst case expectation, and then allow the pointy end, more ego-driven expectations to come into play. Because the first question I ask a new athlete is, what are your expectations? Like, if an athlete comes to me and says, I want to do an Ironman, and I go, what are your expectations? I want to win the Ironman. Well, that changes everything. Now that changes the entire conversation. If they say, I just want to finish and have fun. Okay, now we got this whole other direction we're going to go. And so all the training, the mindset, your family, your job, everything now comes into play as that expectation changes, right?
So how do you work with that? How do you work with changes in expectations? So I come to you and I'm like, hey, I want to qualify for world championships.
You start by looking at your past, like what you've done. And if that points you generally towards what's realistic. And from there you go into how much time do you have available to put towards this? And are you willing to do it? I think the willingness to step up and do what it takes is really, it's undervalued, but at the same time, I'm not sure people understand how much it takes. Unless you're just wildly talented. If you want to go 9 hours in an Ironman, there's some work to do there.
What does it take?
Consistency. Most of the time it takes, I took a full year of diligent, knowledgeable, good body. Like I am so healthy. I had all these things lined up in my favor, and 1 year and I melted down. So, I know in the past it was always some guys use a 3-year rule. I think more realistically, if you're starting from scratch, a 5-year rule
for Ironman
to Kona,
to do well,
qualify. Yeah. And it's 5 years of, making sure that you can swim hard for 4,000. And I'm not like 2,000, whatever, 3, I don't care. You got to hammer for 4 and then have it not do anything to your bike. Like, you have to come out of that feeling fine, like you didn't swim. And then on the bike, you have to hold, 3 watts per kilogram or whatever. Not 3, but you have to, if you're 150 pounds, you have to hold 210 watts for 5 hours. Never letting off the gas, ever. You don't lift your head out of the aero bars. I mean, there's these minutiae that are brutal. And then on the run, can you run 7-minute pace?
All day.
All day. Not for a marathon. No, I mean, is your recovery pace close to 7? Like, zone 1 should be close to 7-minute pace. And that's just to eke out a 7-minute pace in an Ironman. So.
Yeah, I think that's another truth bomb, Tim. Like
the depth of base. And that's what I noticed immediately. Like I knew from my training on the bike that I was going to massively decouple at 4 hours. I knew it. There was no preventing it. And I didn't because I biked so easy. And it still kicked my butt. I mean, I came off the bike done.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I averaged 126 heart rate. And the beginning of my zone 2 is 135. I was 10 beats below zone 2. And it messed me up. That's my base is just not deep enough.
Was that just muscular endurance, or was that nutrition, or was that
it's
so many things? Yeah,
I mean, to define endurance, we still don't know what the actual definition of endurance is, and it's really relative to what you're doing. I biked 6 hours. I've got endurance. But I wasn't able to. So muscular endurance, I guess, is the better term.
Being able to hold, I guess, power, even whatever power for a long period of time.
Right. Yeah. But then have it such a realistic power, like not a hard power. It's not time trialing 112 miles. It's riding pretty easy for 112 and fast.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah.
Easy but fast.
Yeah. And that's like the math. You talk about math, which I don't want to talk about math either. But, I mean, being able to run 6:30 pace at math, that's fast. And that's really easy. That's kind of where you want to be.
Yeah.
So when I ran 250 at Ironman, which is 6:30 pace, my math was 6-minute pace. And so I was 30 seconds slower than math, crushing myself. So let's put it in perspective. And I look at Christian, not to get into the winners either, but I look at Christian Blumfeld's 238. Like that guy, unreal, otherworldly.
On this course.
On this course, he biked 418. On this course. That's just...
It's 2 hours.
How do you beat
almost
that?
2 hours more than I did.
How do you beat that?
Well, Camp Morph did, but he didn't run really that well. He did a 4:16, I think.
And it took him a while to catch.
It did,
Blumfeld swam 48.
It's just remarkable what happened on that course yesterday. And I actually think it's remarkable that anybody who finished yesterday is pretty amazing. I think I saw a lot of carnage out there. When I saw people walking so early on that first lap.
I saw people walking on the bike. On Snow Canyon.
Okay.
The second big climb. That's Snow Canyon,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Towards the top of that, I saw 2 guys walking that.
It was real.
That was awesome.
I categorized the course as like hilly, hot, and howling winds.
And the one thing that really messed me up was I hadn't spent any time in my aero bars. I hate the trainer. And so I hadn't really been in my aero bars that much. And the roughness of the road, I became so sensitive. Like my skin, just the little bumps just drove me insane. I was mad. I was just pissed. This sucks. This is so awful. Just getting...
The little cracks every now and
Yeah. And they felt like I was running over a curb. Just these little bumps just felt so big to me. I thought that was funny. I was like, oh my God.
So how do you work with that dissatisfaction? Like your ego was unsatisfied with that experience. It was really like
it is, and at the same time, it was I loved being back in that 12-hour group. I've never been there. I have this entirely new outlook on it. Like I've watched tons of Ironmans, and I've watched those 12-hour people come by. The people who are just dead. And standing on the side spectating is nothing. It's hilarious. You could even possibly think you know what's going on. Being in that moment is a completely new experience for me. And I appreciate that. I value that a lot. Yeah, I wasn't going to go for Kona anyway. So if I would have won my age group yesterday, I'm more happy now. Having melted down, having a horrible experience, because I think that's that's absolutely the majority. That's absolutely the average person, to struggle to finish.
Yet we bring focus to the Christian Blumenfelds and the people that are crushing it, training, doing what kind of testing are they doing?
Everything.
Everything.
All of it.
Blood test, blood on the ear, like all the time. But that becomes what we see and what becomes normal, and that should be for us. But I think you shine a light on a pretty important piece of endurance sports. Let's take Ironman out of it. Mm-hmm. That people out there are just trying to challenge themselves and to try and finish something.
And I've never had that. Even when I towed the line at the Leadville 100, monumental run. Have you done 100? Don't.
Thanks for the confirmation. I'm definitely not going to do it now.
They're so unhealthy. It's not like, if you could do that and have it be healthy, I would probably do another one. I felt after that race that I took a week off my life. It was so bad. But I didn't struggle that much at Leadville. And it had a lot to do with my mental state. But it's just brutal.
Yesterday compared to Leadville.
I knew I would finish at Leadville. And my challenge at the time wasn't to finish. I knew I was going to finish. My challenge at the time was holding off the guy behind me or winning the race. Those are qualifiers that take out of the equation, I don't know if I can finish or not. Those are completely different things. And the same with Christian Blumfeld. His challenge was holding 6-minute pace. He wasn't finishing.
He knew what he had to hit to win.
He was holding off Lionel Sanders or Braden Curry. And that was his struggle. Had nothing to do with what I went through or you went through or a majority of the people out on that course went through. Nothing to do with it. They're completely different mindsets. Christian Blumfeld probably doesn't understand at all what we went through. He has no idea. And I didn't either until yesterday. And I'm so happy for that. I think it turned out exactly the only way the only way it could have for me to be happy. If I didn't recognize this, I would be miserable right now. Instead, I'm jazzed.
Has a past Lucho been frustrated with an expectation that hasn't been delivered?
Absolutely, Kona. Yeah. That's the biggest part of my baggage. You know, in 2002, I was in 10th place with 9th, 8th, and 7th within, I think, 3 minutes of me. And I fell apart. And I walked. And I slipped to 12th. That's profound. Like, that's a big shift right there for me. Huge shift for me. So
when you walked yesterday, because I saw you, we saw each other when we were walking. Like, did that bring up any?
No. That was, again, it comes down to expectations and where you are in the race. Like with Christian Blumfeld holding off for the win. Mm-hmm. It's that pointy end stuff. Yesterday, I knew 40 miles into the bike that I was done. I knew it.
That's pretty early.
It is. Well, at Leadman, I don't know if you heard the story at Leadman. I did the 10K the week before. I did the 100 bike and then the 10K.
Yeah, explain what Leadman is, because we've probably talked about it. But
yeah, so it's all the Leadville race series races, and you do them in a line. And I think at the time it was 5 races in 7 weeks or 8 weeks. And you start off with a marathon, and then I did the 50-mile mountain bike, and then you do the 100-mile mountain bike, and then the next morning you do the 10K. And then 5 days later, you do the 100 run. And I got through the mountain bike, just, I was 3 minutes behind the leader of Leadman. And I was going to take that back on the 10K. And I also wanted to win a race outright. So I got second in the marathon, overall. Not in Leadman, but overall. And I'm like, I can win this 10K. The course record was 36? Or no, 37. 37, I think, was the course record. Like, I can run 37. I know, that's it. So there's baggage here, right? There's my expectations. That's 6 minute pace. And
at 11,000, 12,000 feet?
Yeah, and it's hilly. And I just did the 100 bike the day before. And anyway, the gun goes off, and there's like these 3 college kids showed up. And I didn't know it. And they took off, and I went with them. And I broke the course record and got 4th or 3rd. I was so mad. But I wasted myself. I raced that 10K all out. And then 5 days later, I'm so sore that week. I'm so sore. My quads were shattered. Towed the line at the Leadville 100. And at mile 20, there's this really big descent. You walk down power line. Or you run down power line. Everybody was running down. I had to walk it because my quads were just wrecked at mile 20. And I remember that moment very profoundly. It's very vivid in my memory of thinking, I have to run 80 miles now. And I'm walking these downhills. And I think there was a really big shift in my belief in myself. I always had it, but nothing ever came hard for me. But I ran 80 miles with just completely nasty quads. And I caught the guy who was the second place Leadman guy blew by me because I'm walking. And he got quite a ways ahead. And then at the turnaround, we heard that he was not looking good. And so I started pushing at mile 50 to catch him. And I finally caught him up power line at mile 20 and passed him for the win right there. And I did it. Like I really thought I wasn't going to be able to finish at mile 20. But the mind blown idea that I have 80 miles to go running and I'm done now. I'm shattered. It was profound. It was a pretty cool thing to finish.
How did you, because it sounds like you had it on yesterday too, because at mile 40 you were like, this is,
that's what it goes to. It's like,
how do you work with it?
You don't think about it.
How do you not think about it?
Just do what you can in the moment. And also get to, like, for me, having my wife and kids out on the course was huge. I mean, I'm going to start crying. But, like, seeing them was just so big for me. Ugh. And I wasn't going to let my kids see me quit. So, that was it.
Well, they see dad as...
They do.
They know dad, and they see dad as this pretty strong guy in his 50s. And for you to maybe talk about expectations, for you to disappoint them would be hard.
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
But it was also good for them to see me so vulnerable, like to see me break down. And it's okay to do that. Mm-hmm. It really is. And I want them to know that.
Yeah, you've been I've obviously known you since you had kids, and you've just been I don't see you every day, but I just, through the podcast, and I can feel that you love being a dad, that you've taken this seriously. And even when we were working together, you were like, this is really important to me. Like, things have to take a back seat in other places of my life. And so your kids, did they have any feedback on you yesterday? Are they coherent of what you did, or?
They're also coming at it from an angle where this isn't really anything new. Mm-hmm. So they think this is just what I do. Like, oh yeah, my dad did an Ironman. That's what he does. And so
there's kind of a cool thing to that, because it's normalized. It is not like, oh my God, it's just normalized. And so this is the expectation. And you said one of your sons is, what is he playing?
Mountain bike.
Mountain biking.
Yeah, he's on the mountain bike high school team.
So
high school mountain bike team. And he qualified for state as a freshman. And he did I don't want to brag about my kids, but I will.
Please do.
We did a group ride in Salida, Colorado, with the entire team. There was 74 athletes there, and the coaches. I mean, I have a lot of experience in the mountains, a lot of biking in the mountains, and they showed me the course map, and it was 30 miles, and it climbed 3,000 feet in the first 7 miles. And I'm like, well, how long do you think this is going to take? And they're like, oh, it should take 3 or 4 hours. And I'm like, how much water are you guys bringing? Because you're going to need like a ton. They're like, oh, we'll be fine. We got a aid station type thing set up. And so I start loading my son up with nutrition and all this stuff. And I'm like talking to him. And I ran the first 15 with him, sherping water for my son.
While he's cycling, you're running?
Yeah. And he was at the front of the group, and I was at the front of the group because you can always run faster than mountain biking, usually. Every kid dropped early except my son. And poor coach, although he asked for it, he's the one who said, we can do this. And he's the only one who finished with my son. And my son biked 6.5 hours. And he never considered quitting. He's like, oh, no, just cruising. I'd loaded him with a lot of nutrition, though. None of the other kids did. I mean, he had like full-on Ironman race nutrition stuff. Like, okay, these are your 2 bottles. I'm going to hand off 2 more bottles. I want you to finish these by here. And anyway.
That's how important it is, though. That's how important
it is.
Nutrition is, but also to gauge the course.
Yeah.
To see
all the things.
Expectations.
Yeah. And so that's how I work with him. And I'm not overbearing. I swear. But he that's his mentality. He's like, I'm just gonna. I don't think a kid who has a dad who doesn't do anything like this would maybe have that, but I don't know. But I was so proud of him. He's like, no, I'm not gonna quit. You kidding? It's only 6.5 hours. And he's also really into weightlifting,
which you were.
Oh, well. I was obsessed. Yeah, I'm so excited to get back to that.
Yeah, so what excites you? What's exciting you now?
I have a track race in 4 weeks.
So right back to the opposite extreme.
Oh,
I love it.
I'm so excited. I'm going to start with the 200, and then I'm going straight to the 800.
So 800s. So we incorporate a lot of 800s into our Ironman training.
Brutal distance.
But not, it's that comfortably uncomfortable. You just repeat. How do you train? How do you train for this, like 200 to 800? Because that's sort of like, those are 2 extremes as well.
I'm not training for the 200. I'm going to use the 200 as a foundation to get some speed back.
You like 200?
Yeah. Oh, I love the 200. It's so when I started doing track racing, I did a really deep dive into educating myself on the physiology and the training and everything that is involved. And I started, and I'm not joking. It is more complicated than a marathon. The 200 meter is. I would die by that. The marathon is relatively simple. Like when you're looking at energy systems and the training involved and all this stuff, the 200 has just these, you're working through 3 different energy systems. There's a fairly high level of endurance involved. But it's not the endurance that we think about. That's what I was saying with endurance. It's so relative to the distance. If you want to run 100 miles, that's one thing. If you want to run a 400 is predominantly an endurance-based event. But it's a messed up type of endurance.
But that's what intrigues you, isn't it? It's what
it does. The challenge is incredible, and also coming from it's so new and different that it's all just fresh, and I look forward to the workouts. I'm antsy for the workouts. I didn't feel that once in this Ironman build. I dreaded every minute of it.
But you had the compelling feeling that this is something you needed to do.
Oh, that's the word right there, and that's it. You nailed it. I was compelled to do it. Yeah.
Which brings me to something we were talking about too a little bit, but this higher something, this higher pull.
Yeah, what is that?
Spirituality, energetic, light, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. You have to be open to that, though, I think.
How are you open to it? Experience?
Not experience. I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with your upbringing. and
You do.
what you're taught. It's a little bit of a nurture thing. I don't know, nature-wise. I think you have to start off with the willingness to open your mind. I see a lot of people who just aren't willing to do that on a deep level. Like they're just not self-aware. And they're not necessarily aware of where they fit into the world, big picture-wise, and what it all means. And they aren't willing to go look for it. Yeah, smooth-brained. They just don't have anything there. Right? They're not really thinking beyond their cup of coffee or whatever.
They've got this nice place
The
that
comfort
they've
zone.
created.
Mm-hmm.
They've created everything. We have the choice always. Always have a choice.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. A lot of us like that box because it's comfortable and it's known and we know who we are.
Well, I think you can go in and out of that box. I think I fall into that box. There's times in the evening where I just want to be in that box, man. I don't want anything outside of that. I am done. And I just want to watch like a really crappy TV show and just turn my brain off. Turn my computer off. Escapism.
Yeah. Escape reality.
But there's people who live in the box. But I think the one thing about endurance sports that's unique is that we have this opportunity to spend these profound number of hours in our own head. You take somebody who works 50 hours a week at a desk and they've got kids. They don't have that time. They wake up in the morning, they're just go, go, go. And they're focused on all these things, this harsh reality. They go to the office, they sit there, they're working 50 hours a week in a desk. And then they rush home, cook dinner, get their kids ready for bed. They've got this really finite period of time where we're like, I'm going to go do a 3-hour run, man. I'm going to go look at some trees and just ponder the world and expose myself. We talked a little bit before this about being raw. And I don't think that you can... I think in order to become emotionally raw, you have to go through some type of trauma, right? And I'm not saying trauma is a bad thing. I think that at the base level, trauma is what makes us better. Struggle, all these things. But you don't just sit there on the couch eating a bowl of cereal, watching TV, and become emotionally raw. I mean, you've got depression or something, yeah, sure. But we put ourselves in that. We seek that out. You go out to run 3 hours or bike 6 hours or whatever you want to do to expose that. We seek that out. And so I think if you were talking to the average person, they wouldn't understand at all what we're talking about. They're like, why would you want to do that? And you and I are like, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yes.
It's the only way that you're going to expand your mind. Especially where the introspection is so profound. How your mindset changes over the course of this really long struggle. Like how you think sitting on the couch before your run versus how you think at the very end of it when you're just struggling. Like there's just such a huge shift there. And I might have gotten off track.
No, I think that's so in line. I think sharing your own personal experience because you've done a lot of work on yourself, on the mind.
Tons, yeah.
And I like this connection. I never thought about this before because we're big on mindset training in the realm of, take a few moments in the morning with yourself, sit down, be still, be quiet, watch the thoughts. But you kind of opened up another piece of comparing the person in the office in the world versus going out for a run. Because, I've been guilty of saying, running's not the same as meditation because you're still moving. But it's much better than being in the office with constant stimulus and judgment and competition and stress than it is to be out in nature, challenging your own body and your own belief system without the judgment of the tree. I mean, all you have is the trees and a trail would be ideal. So I think that's the laboratory. to work on your mind. And you've got severe cred in that area where you've constantly, because I know you're working through things. I can sense that.
Yeah, but
We're not going out with the goal to
no,
but they appear.
I slip into that immediately at this point. I just fall right into it. Step one, let's do it. Let's start talking to ourselves.
I remember once you went, you did the night run up when you moved up there first, and I think you.
Oh, I did a lot of really gnarly runs I shouldn't have done. I never carried a phone. I didn't have anything. My wife didn't know I left. Like 3 a.m, and I'm out in the middle of this massive national forest in 3 feet of snow. No trail, just breaking trail. I'm lost. I don't know where I am.
What's out there?
It's crazy. I remember during a blizzard, it was a pretty strong, kind of a blizzard, and I'm running, and I pick up this game trail, and there's just suddenly all these mountain lion tracks, and there's like 5 pairs, and they're pretty fresh, and I just keep following them. I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. And I'm going, and I knew there were mountain lions because at one point, one of the adults had jumped this log, and it was like a 20-foot jump. I'm like, well, that's a big span. And after maybe 15, 20 minutes, I just suddenly realized how stupid this was and turned around. But I would do 3 a.m. with a headlamp.
Would you say the fast track to understanding how your brain works and who you are to a sense comes from just compiling experience after experience that put you in challenging, or not challenging, but moments where it's not comfortable?
No, I think it's the willingness to do that.
The willingness, the drive,
the willingness
desire.
to be introspective, and the willingness to seek out more, and to understand that there is more out there. There's something bigger. There absolutely is.
What is it?
I don't know. You tell me.
I'm on my way. That's why I keep doing this stuff.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna ever find it.
No, you'll find it, but it's that journey. You
think you'll find it?
I don't think I'll find it.
Oh yeah,
but I'm on the pursuit to.
Yeah, I think just the basic awareness that there is more to this than our little world is probably not the end goal, but I think it's what ultimately is going to make us better people. It's just this nurturing and caring of the greater good, or the big picture, or that we are just this small cog in the wheel. There's a ton of metaphors or whatever you want for it. But I don't think that you're ever going to reach the goal, but it's the it's the journey to that and the seeking of it that's it. It's the looking for it that's it. The end goal, maybe you'll never find it. So why keep looking?
So go back
because looking is it.
It's the thing.
It's the thing.
It is.
Yeah.
So for those saying, oh, once I get to Kona, then I'll have all the happiness and success, and I'll be put on the map as.
Oh God, no. That's absurd.
It's outcome oriented.
Yeah, it's the expectation again. So if you become introspective with the expectation that you're going to solve your problems, I don't know. Good luck.
Did you solve anything yesterday?
Nah. Again, the only thing that I think that really has hit me hard is just the empathy and understanding of that struggle. Like, I've coached athletes who have been in this position, and my words to them were ignorant. They have to be, because I was never there. So now I can be like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I got it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's the believe it before you see it. Like, you believed it.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
And you helped your athletes,
sure,
right? But now you've seen it, and now it's like cemented. Like, okay, this is legit stuff that these people are working through.
Yeah.
Or I should say, everybody's working through some level of it. Like, Christian's still working through something at 6-minute pace while I'm walking just to get there. It's just, we're all working with something we're resisting. We're resisting what is.
Yeah. So I've broadened my experience and I've broadened my knowledge, which I think is just incredibly valuable. Like it's everything. When you can learn something, especially something that will help other people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm never doing this again. So it
What?
didn't help me.
You're not?
Yeah, maybe. And Powerman's Elfingen in Switzerland is all.
No more Ironman, though, for right now. No.
I'm not going to say never, because I said it before.
Right, yeah.
And here I am. So I could see myself when I'm 60 and my son wants to do one. Then maybe. But yeah, I'm not going to say never. But I have no desire to do one.
But it's fun to play. You know, you're 50. 50? Mm-hmm. And I'll be 50 next year. But it's not that I want to do something when I'm 50. I just want to be able to have the ability to pick up Clark if I need to and not have my back go out or, you know, to move gear in and out as I pack for a race, to be honest. And I think the racing is just the icing on the cake. But I want to be physically, mentally alert and aware as I continue to age, not having age be a sentence to how I can perform.
Which I think has become endemic in this country. Not to go off on that, but I will.
Well, it's a number, right? It's what we're conditioned.
Yeah, the average person. Oof. And the biggest insult that I could give you right now is, BJ, you're just average. Ooh, whoa, that's fighting words right there. Like, that's an insult. Yeah. And it's just sad that we've come this far. I mean, you're old enough to remember when it wasn't this. You know, when I was a kid, 50-year-olds were, where I grew up, were these badass farmers that were just throwing bales and amazing. Now I'll shut up. But.
No, it's valid. I mean, it addresses awareness of social restraints that say once you and we have both in our own way sought another direction that goes against the norm. Yeah, constantly. Yeah, goes against the norm
constantly.
I definitely was a little bit later to the game. For the most part, but I feel there's no other way. Right. I could not. Isn't. And knowing where I was and where I am now, I could never go back.
Well, that's what I was saying initially. It was like, I'm going to be training anyway. Might as well do an Ironman. Like, that's just what I do. Might as well put it towards something. But it doesn't even matter to me.
Yeah, again, the outcome doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. The outcome is being able to do stuff.
The growth.
Just pick something. I'll do it.
Yeah. Today is the law. It's the law of Dharma. It's the spiritual.
What is that part of?
I think it's this. I talked to Jess this morning, and it's these this cards that she gets.
Okay.
And today just happens to be law of Dharma when I was talking to her, which means you are. You have faith and trust that miracles will unfold. So with that, what's your purpose? What do you think your purpose is here?
Here, now? At this Ironman?
No, here in...
Oh, in the world.
Yeah. Let's go bigger.
Raise good kids. Make my wife happy. I've done everything I need to do. I think my purpose now is to make other people's lives better. Because I've had a blessed, amazing, easy life. I mean, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change a thing. I would do everything the same because it's been so good. I want to give my kids that. And I want my wife to be, happy and satisfied and not put her through this anymore. She's so worried. I think that's probably it. Yeah, it's certainly not. Like, my purpose certainly hasn't nothing to do with me. Like, my purpose isn't, I want to be happy when I'm 70. No. I've had 50 years of happiness. It's time to try to give that to others.
You are. I think you are. I think in your own community, immediate community, so your family, but also I think I gotta say through our interaction and then spreading to my community and then being on the Endurance Planet podcast for 11 years,
something like that.
sharing your perspective and your insight with.
It's a little harsh sometimes.
But I think,
it's
that's what
right
gravitated
one.
me to you.
Yeah.
Like, I needed the knock to say, keep it so simple. Like, to just be straightforward and brutal honesty and truth.
It's the only thing that works.
Yeah.
So tell me about your day. Was it the hardest Ironman you've done?
I can't say it's the hardest I've done. I DNF'd in Coeur d'Alene. And I think I walked away from Ironman. That's when we made our move from Boulder back to New England. That was pretty tough on me.
Right.
But I have not, like you, I've not experienced this in a long time. Walking, just trying to finish.
Yeah.
Working with dizziness and the awareness that you can do this. It just may take a different form, and being okay with that.
Yeah.
Knowing that I'm in this community and people expect, again, that he knows,
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You fabricate these expectations of other people. I think the X number of people are going to be disappointed if I don't do this. And what's the old saying is the people that matter don't care, and the people that don't care don't matter, or something like that.
That's pretty good.
I can't remember.
I'll take that. That makes sense.
It's something like that. Yeah, everybody who knows you and loves you, they're just going to be happy for you. Period. You could quit. They'd be like, "Good call, BJ. I'm proud of you." So the people who have these expectations of us that we don't know, or whatever, that's on them. If I disappoint you, you screwed up. Not me. You have misguided expectations.
Yeah, it just stirs things up in there.
But it's there. It's this little piece of weight that adds a load to your mentality, or in the back of your brain. It weighs on you a little bit. I'm not capable of letting that go.
Well, you must to some level, because you continue to do this. So,
yeah.
But you're still working. But you still have that.
It's there.
It's
in
your awareness.
I can't just be like, well, I don't care what people think. I can't do that. I do care what people think. And I've never tried to change that. I think it's good in a way to have that awareness that people are watching. Don't screw up, or,
It's also good to keep you on your toes to continue to be you.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Don't change because of them.
Right. Yeah. It was a good day.
I was so psyched to see you out there.
Oh, my God. If I think I told you that if my family wasn't waiting for me at the finish, I might have waited for you and just finished with you.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Oh, my God, yeah.
But again, we have people out there.
Because you were catching me. I swear there was a turnaround. I'm like, oh, my gosh, he's right there. I should just wait.
That was a long turnaround.
I really thought you were going to catch me.
Yeah. I was holding it together for a little while.
Yeah, you were. And I wasn't. I was like, he's going to catch me. I'm so excited.
When I saw you, the first time I saw you, you were talking to someone. No, we first saw each other, you yelled at me. And then the second time you were talking to someone.
Yeah, I stopped a bunch and talked to a bunch of people.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
Did they recognize Endurance Planet t-shirt?
Not too many, but a few did, yeah.
Did they just know you, or they were just talking to you?
Yeah, they just knew me.
Yeah. And then we saw each other on that, in between the park and
we just
church.
both stopped. The second time we just both started walking.
We're just like,
we were like, all right.
My God, what is going on here?
Give a big hug. It was awesome. It was really a good moment. It was one of the top highlights of my race.
Me too.
Just seeing you and just connecting with you right there when we're both just, we're both done.
I was like, if Tim's walking, I might just walk with him and skip the rest of the course, and who cares?
Oh no, I would have probably turned around and walked back towards you and met you, and then we kept going. But yeah, my wife was so worried. I didn't want to keep her. Yeah, but that would have been an exceptional thing.
Well, it was just cool to know that you were out there, and it was cool to do another Ironman with you. This one I knew you were at. The first one I had no idea you were at. I didn't know who you were. But you have impacted my life, and I know it's tough to take those compliments sometimes, but and the community that we've created at Yogi Triathlete, a lot of the beliefs I have, or a lot of seeds that were planted early on, came from you. And I'm sure you do this with everyone that you talk to and work with, but it's how you water those seeds and how they grow inside you and what direction you take. And I think that propelled me to end up being a coach when I had everything, all set in my world: the house, debt-free, full-time job, just perfect.
You leapt out of your comfort zone.
I did.
I remember that. I remember looking at you going, holy cow, that's awesome. Like, you were just
diving in.
You jumped out of a plane without a parachute. It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool. It was. I was so proud of you.
It takes a lot. But again, I knew something was on the other side. I knew something higher was at play, and I knew that I need to follow this.
You're the type of person who does that. You will never fail. It will always end up well for you.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Even if what I expect in the moment is not what is in alignment, I know that it's happening for some reason. Yeah. Like yesterday happened for some. I wasn't supposed to crush the race. There's just something to pull away from it, and I pull away a few things, but there's more.
I believe in that too. I look for signs like that, and I'm kind of superstitious like that.
Oh boy, did you have any superstitions like race morning or during the race at all? No,
I think I was so flat before. Like, I just knew it wasn't going to go well. I didn't need any signs.
I love that you trained where you trained, did what you did, jumped in, knew things were going to be, and you still kept going. And now you're here and you're smiling and in appreciation and gratitude.
I've asked a lot of people this question, and I try to ask myself that. And before you do something in 10, 20 years, are you going to look back and regret it? And I think that's a pretty good barometer for something. It could come down to in the moment. Like, you're at a bar, some guy mouths off to you. You probably don't get in that situation, but I used to. If a guy mouths off to you, in 10 years, are you going to look back at this and just really wish you hadn't done what you're going to do? Or, you moving to California, that leap, that's one of those things where I think that you would look back in 10 years and regret not doing it. And that's a big one too. Because I see that with the corporate group. They're 60. They've spent their entire life either in school or a job, and they've just ground themselves down. And they look at somebody like you or me, and we're just like these freestyle, carefree, and we're doing great. And they're like, "Damn it, I should have done that." That's the ultimate regret right there to me.
It's never too late to start.
I don't know.
I have hope.
Yeah, I think you have to have this certain baseline of awareness and mentality to be able to do it. There are people out there who can't do what you did. They can't.
It doesn't add up on paper, is what I'm finding. A lot of people get logical, and it doesn't make sense.
Well, that's
to leave, and
they got a mortgage and 2 car payments.
That's just stuff, though.
And they're working their job only to pay for those. Those people are trapped. They're truly trapped. But yeah.
So this is to wrap this up.
Yeah, we're going way off the rails here.
To wrap this up, but I think it's important as coaches, to understand that we can give you plans, we can give you the motivation, we can support you, but the athlete's desire to want to perform, the athlete's desire to be better, the athlete's desire to get out on the other side of the front door in the morning, ultimately comes down to their will. Yeah, absolutely. And determination.
Yeah, when I use this analogy sometimes is when your alarm goes off in the morning, do you turn that alarm off with your VO2 max? Or your FTP? Or whatever metric you want to use in training? No, you turn that off because you want to turn the alarm off and start your training. The physical comes way secondary to everything that's between your ears. Christian Blumfeld wants to do what he does. There is somebody out there, I guarantee it, that is a better athlete than him, who probably is working in a fast food restaurant and smoking cigarettes. Physiologically, he is superior to Christian Blumfeld. But he doesn't want to do what Christian does. That's the difference, right? Christian Blumfeld is not the best athlete in the world. He's the one who's the most motivated, though. Same with Kipchoge. I mean, there are Kenyans and Ethiopians who are just as good as him physically, but they just don't have the brain, and that's everything. So I'm super hyper aware of the idea that the physical ability is not even, it's a shadow compared to your mental strength and motivation and willingness and positivity. Positivity is everything. Everything. It really is.
Oh, I'm going to end it right there. That's awesome. That is so cool. Tim, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's
really
rambling.
Appreciate it. Oh, we could do this all the time.
Oh, I could.
You do it all the time.
I do it all the time. I could do this for another 10 hours.
Where can people find you when you do post on social media?
I have an Instagram.
I'll put links to you.
Yeah, it's Run on Lucho, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still have your blog, the Jog
I haven't
Daddy?
updated it in years. Yeah. That's an extensive library right there.
Is it still available? Is it still online?
Yeah, so there's like 1,200 posts, and it goes all the way back to Leadman, and I used to be really detailed training stuff, and then it ended up growing into. It started with a marathon, and then moved into ultras, and then fly fishing.
That's right.
And then a bunch of leather work.
Oh my God! Birthday cakes.
Introspection stuff. Like I'm pretty open on there, and then it just kind of tapered off.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that. I'll put the link in there. It's really wealth of information.
There's so much stuff in there.
So much.
There's I think 1,200 posts.
Range and depth of information.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate you having me.
It's
an honor.
Thank you.